Hey everybody, it's Jennifer and I have a really cool review for you guys today. We are going to be talking about some Flower Beauty. So without further ado, let's jump right in. All right, so I had been enchanted, if you will, by these palettes for a very long time because they just look so creamy and so nice, and I had seen so many people rave about them. And I saw Dreaming in Multichrome, I believe her name is Jen, I'm almost positive, on Instagram mentioned these, and that kind of prompted me. I will include her information down below. But that prompted me to pick up all four and test them and to see what I thought. I have been testing these for a week. I have used all of these palettes. So I'm going to do some swatches and then we'll talk about my review. So let's start with the Jungle Lights because this one is the one that has been out the longest. And these are really, really big pans. So you get quite a bit of product in here. There is no mirror and it is cheaper packaging because they are cheaper palettes. They are considered drugstore palettes. I got these from Ulta, and after promos and things, I think they ended up being about $18 a piece. So that is how much I paid for them. So each one comes with 6. And for the most part, these are all shimmers, although there are some satins. And there are also some that can play like satins. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch these out for you. I'm going to tell you that the formula kind of varies, but some of them are really, really, really wet. Like this one is a really, really wet formula. This purple is a bit drier, and you can already see the difference there in the shine. So I think you could use that purple as a satin potentially. Then you have this gold, which is very metallic, and I'll come back for the other two in a second. This red one, very wet. Wow. I mean, pigment is not a problem here. God, is that not crazy good? I do have a makeup eraser with some micellar water next to me, so some of these may come off a little bit more pigmented just because my skin may be a little damp when I continue the swatches in between. All right, so let's go ahead and get for the green. Now this one is a drier formula like the purple. It looks very shiny on camera, but I find that it doesn't pull necessarily that shiny. And then the bronze is pretty shiny. All right. So there you go. There is Jungle Lights. And as you can see, I mean, it's pretty pigmented and pretty intense. I don't think anybody can deny that. So let me talk about performance a little bit because I am wearing this palette today. I'm going to come up so you guys can see a little bit closer. But I am wearing the green on the outer corner, and then I have that gold, the light gold on the inside. I also use the green to buff out in the crease a little bit. Now, what I was talking about with the fact that I think some of these can pull satin, I don't really like to wear shimmers on my outer corner because my eyes are textured and I feel like that can become very obvious. But sorry, ignore my nose patches there. But I think that I think that green, while it has a lot of sparkle, is not like a wet metallic. So I felt like I could smoke it out, and I think it performed well enough to do that. It wasn't a satin, but I do think I could. I also think this purple, I could do the same thing, most of all, because that one is definitely a bit satiny. All right, so that is Jungle Lights. So let's go ahead and look at the next one. All right, so the next one is Desert Lights, and as Jungle Lights was very jewel toned, this is a warmer color story. This one has been out for a little bit. It has what I would call one shimmer, a few different metallics, and a duochrome. So I'm going to go ahead and grab for the shimmer first, which is this color. These do have names, by the way, but you know. This one is definitely more of a satin, and I think you could easily wear this on the outer corner. Then we're going to look at Sahara, which is the duochrome, and hopefully you'll be able to see that. It's a pink to gold. Very pretty. All right, this one, Red Rocks, is just very metallic. And then this one is also, you can see like what's kicking up in the pan and what's kicking up here on my fingers. Like these are really, really, really textured, some of these. I saw somebody ask if they were like Super Shocks on Reddit, and I would say no. but some of them are really intensely textured. I mean, look at this, like, got that one a little bit close. So you can see that duochrome because it's beautiful. And you can see what I mean about this being a great satin. So really, you could build any color story with that one. And I will tell you why I'm swatching the other two. My thoughts for these palettes is that they would be great for travel because you just need a couple of colors to smoke out, or you could do a one and done with any of these. So I usually travel with Super Shock shadows. And, you know, it gets to be a lot when you bring a whole bunch of Super Shock. So I thought this might be an easier solution. All right, so there's the last two. So yeah, much warmer color story, but my gosh, guys, can you believe this pigment pale? I mean, this is a level of crazy. So yeah, this on the outer corner with any of these colors. And like I said, you could also do a one and done. But yeah, so that's the Desert Lights palette. So let's go ahead and move next into Garden Lights. My arm is also a bit swollen, so I am sorry about that. If you read my book, you know why. I had surgery a few months ago, so, well, a couple of months ago. It's only, as of when I'm filming this, it was a couple of months ago. All right, so the next one is Garden Lights, and this is a cool toned, more neutral color story. So very, very, very pretty. I'm really drawn to some of these pinks and purples. So let's go ahead. This one is the one in this palette that I would say you could easily use as a satin. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to see if I could create full looks with these. And I think based on the look that I have on right now, you can. All right, so here is the first four. And again, it's still shiny. It's a very shiny satin. But I think that you can buff some of that shine out, and it won't be a matte completely, but I think it works still as an outer corner shade. The pigment is so intense on these. Like, look at this. This is just no joke. I feel like these swatches are huge as well, and it's just because these are so wet. These shadows are so wet. And I don't mean wet as in actually wet. I mean they perform like a wet metallic shadow, if you know what I mean. Which is why I understand why somebody was comparing them to Super Shocks, but they are not quite the same. If you ever tried Copacetic's Flaky formula, it actually reminds me of that, just a little. All right, so there's the Garden Lights, which as you can see is a bit more cool toned, especially with that beautiful purple. And it is a really pretty color story. And I'm going to be putting looks on screen, by the way, for the looks that I've created, some of the looks that I've created with some of these palettes. So hopefully you can see here like that I did use this as an outer corner smoke out. So yeah, pretty intense, right? Like these are beautiful. All right, so let's jump into the last palette. All right, the last palette is called Coastal Lights. And this is just a fun, lighter colored, cooler toned summer palette. And I really like it a lot. I think it's just absolutely beautiful. And I'm not sure if there's any in here that I would think could function as a satin. We'll kind of look as we swatch them, but I'm not sure. I did try to use, as you will see, the purple as an outer corner shade, and it did fine. I mean, I wore it, but it was I don't think I'd do it again. It was a little bit too electric, quite honestly. You can see a difference in texture as well here. So this one is that chunky formula I was talking about. This is so smooth. I mean, this is so smooth. And this is the one that I think is like Copacetic's Flaky formula. And as you can already see, like I kind of have to work with those flakes just a little. That one as well. Gosh, these are pretty. And there is the one that is just like really smooth. You grab the last two. These last two are that really smooth formula as well. Now these do feel like Super Shocks. The smooth formula does. So it's kind of like Flaky formula and Super Shock formula. And then some satins. That's kind of a good way I would describe. All right, so there is that last palette, which I really, really like a lot. So yeah, I would use these probably for more one and done. These three are beautiful inner corners and maybe even brow highlights. Those are really, really pretty. But the others I might have to pull another matte or satin or use something else to build that up a little bit if I wanted a full look and not a one and done. All right, so there are all swatches of all palettes. So my experience with these is thus. It is not careless and carefree necessarily, because I have had these shadows crease on me quite badly depending on the primer and what I'm wearing underneath. So I'm actually testing a couple of primers, and I will continue testing primers. The Potion Pot was so far my most successful, but even that, by end of day, and I wore it all day, did start to break down a little bit. Like I said, right now, right on this side, I've got the Moira Shadow Pot, and I have such a thick layer. And on this side, I have a Moira Shadow Pot with a Potion Primer on top of. So I'm going to be testing that. I've had it on now for like 4 or 5 hours. But by end of day, and maybe I can update you guys on Instagram, because I'm going to keep testing this to see. I was honestly so disappointed with the creasing on some days that I considered taking these back to Ulta, because I mean, I spent like almost $100 here, and I was like, gosh, if all of these are going to crease, that's going to be super disappointing. But I do think that it depends on what is underneath the primer that you're wearing. And the issue also is that some of these are so textured and like that flaky formula that, you know, it's just going to crease if you don't have a good primer. And I will give you an example. The Danessa Myricks Chrome Flakes, oh my gosh, those crease on me so badly. No matter what is underneath, they crease on me so badly because they're so textured, and it's just so hard to keep them in place on my eyelids, which must be somewhat oily if I have this big a problem with creasing. I also moisturize my eyelids, which maybe I should stop doing, but it's just habit. Like in the morning when I put on moisturizer, I moisturize everything. So yeah, maybe that is something that I need to stop doing as well. But yeah, I really want these to work because I like them. I think they're so pretty. And I think just traveling with 4 palettes rather than all my Super Shock shadows would be really great. And I plan on doing this. I'm going to England as of when I'm filming this in a few weeks to visit my husband's family. And that's what I'll do, is take a few of these and we'll see how it goes. But I feel like it's a really easy way to travel. When I travel, I really, really want something very simple, because I want, when I travel, the ability to sleep in a little, especially if it's a vacation, but also I want to have makeup on. So what I don't want is to spend an hour and a half doing my makeup, which is what I spend usually every morning. And I love that. I'm not complaining. I love the process of putting on my makeup. But when you're traveling and you want to get on with the fun things, that's not where I want to spend my time. So I am looking for fast alternatives, especially when it comes to eye products. So that's why I bought them, and that's where we are. So let me know in the comments down below if you have any of these, what your thoughts are. I have to say, swatching them, just, ugh. If you are a person who loves shimmery, shiny eyeshadows, like, can you see those swatches and not just take your breath away? Like, they're so beautiful, which is why when I saw Jen swatching them, I was like, oh, these are so pretty. And I was like a moth to a flame. I had to get them. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you find that you've had any problems with creasing, and if so, what are you doing to combat that? Because I want to keep testing stuff because I want to make these work. All right, guys, that is it for me, and I hope everybody's doing great, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.